Hello, I'm Derek. Welcome to Talking with Famous People. And I am here today with a assortment of famous people, including Contract under Guadalupe First Seal, Eccentric M, Eric Hamadou Diallo, Mr. Haberdatcher, Nande, Trenton Shirks, Unify, and Zack. And we're going to type somebody who was uncertain about their type and said some stuff about, like, well, I'm kind of a little bit like everything. Who's that? Who said that? Is that you, Mr. Haberdatcher?
Yes, it was.
All right, let's type you. Let's type Mr. Haberdatcher. Okay, first question. What type are you?
Well, I've only taken the test twice, but both times I have gotten an INTP classification. And I have checked out at least 5 other types out of all of the 16, and I feel like every part of it is just like a little piece of me.
Okay. So that's a good piece of information to start from. I think you're probably not an INTP, if that's your feeling about the test and your experience with reading it. Unless you were to say, basically, I'm not sure if I'm an INTP or an ENTP. Then you're an INTP. Okay? If that's what you're saying, it's like I've narrowed it down to these two. I'm not sure which it is, then you're an INTP. If you're an ENTP, then we both go, oh, hey, other ENTP. It's kind of like Trenton Shirks. Trenton Shirks is an ENTP. Okay, let's ask you some questions. How many people do you want to hang out with in a group? Ideally, if you were leaving the house, you're going to a restaurant, you're going to have a pleasant evening, somebody else is going to pay for it, whatever, you're just along for the kicks. Do you want it to be one other person, 2 other people, or 3 other people?
Wait, who are you speaking to?
Mr. Haberdatcher.
I don't know. Usually I would pick one, but I'm not comfortable with, like. That's a tough question. I mean, I think I'd be comfortable with one, but I.
Are you better at drawing pictures, or are you better at drawing pictures or singing songs?
I do both. I sing a little bit. I draw mainly abstract art.
That doesn't answer the question. Are you better at drawing pictures or singing songs?
Well, I don't consider myself bad at either. Like, I think I'm just...
That doesn't answer the question, nor does the question imply that.
Okay, what was the question?
Are you better at drawing pictures or singing songs?
Drawing.
Okay. Do you think that the moral... Do you believe that morality is universal or contingent upon which culture you're from? Like, are some... I know, obviously, in terms of the laws, it's contingent on which culture, but do you think that there's a universal morality that wins the argument?
Explain to me what morality in itself is, because there's a lot of definitions for it.
Okay, right and wrong. Like, each of us has a somewhat different understanding of the word, but we each possess certain behaviors that we think we ought not do because it's cruel, it's wrong, it's immoral, it would hurt other people too much, or whatever the various reasons are. If it's a reason, unless it's a reason that's purely practical, such as I don't want to go to jail. There's nothing wrong with killing that toddler. I just don't want to go to jail. If you're saying that, then you're not talking about any morality. But if you're talking about any other reason that's decent people reason, then you're talking that's part of your moral code.
Okay. Well, from what it sounds like universal morality is the belief that there's a right and wrong throughout the universe, and I guess I believe in universal morality over the other one.
Say again, please.
I would go with universal morality.
Okay. And do you think that truth is discovered or created? If you had to pick one, which do you prefer?
But it really...
Okay, listen. Okay, Mr. Haberdatcher, I want you to begin thinking about yourself and your cognitive functions through the following framework. I have X number of hours a day in which I'm awake. During any one of those hours a day, stuff's going on in my head. Now, think about this. Some of those hours, some of those minutes are spent doing the following. Oh, don't forget to put away the cheese when you get home because that'll spoil if we don't address that issue. Okay, don't forget to do that. Oh, and I need to remember to turn in that paper because otherwise it'll be late. Some amount of your minutes are spent doing that. If it's doing that, you're doing SI stuff. Okay. Some amount of the minutes of your day are just not thinking about stuff abstractly, but you're like cutting to the basket with the basketball and shooting it in the hoop. That kind of thinking, which isn't really thinking, right? And some of the minutes of your day are spent worrying about how other people are perceiving you. Oh my God, does Judy think I meant that she was ugly? I didn't mean that at all. Oh my gosh, that's FE garbage, right? Some of your day is spent doing TI stuff, like well, but if the nature of a thing did have an essence, like Plato says, then blah, 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 that kind of shit that Zach spends all his time doing, that's TI stuff. If you spend a certain amount of time thinking, not thinking so much, but writing down rules for how you're going to execute a project or something, that's TE. Those are TE minutes. And let's leave out of the equation here NI and NE for a second because those more than are framings more than anything else. But I'm asking you, which of those do you pile up the most minutes in? It's an actual objective, concrete question. There's no such thing as, well, it's a little bit of everything, because you are not telling me. If you are telling me that you spend an equal amount of minutes doing each of those things during the day, you're lying to yourself and me. Like most people, you haven't thought about it much. It's weird how
I have thought about it.
But I'm talking about in terms of time.
Thought.
In terms of time. This is the problem I'm having, is that we are not trained to think about our own cognition in terms of realistic time frame. We're trained to treat it as though we had infinite time. We don't. We have to prioritize some manners of attention over others in any given context. And some manners of attention preclude others in any given context.
What's popping up on the screen?
Excitement, I don't know. Cool random shit
Like
because Hami said make me the presenter, so now he's giving us a slideshow, which I appreciate. I like fucking random crazy.
I thought it was a
nonsense
window
like
of
that.
mine.
It's you, Hami. You told me to make you the presenter. All right, go on, Mr. Haberdatcher. Tell me the answer to my question. Which of those matters of attention are you most likely to consume more minutes in?
Well, I know I'm one that thinks a lot, and I fill a lot of my time with thinking. But I guess what I'm trying to find out is whether I spend it genuine knowledge, like thinking about philosophy, or think about what other people consider me. Because okay, I'm gonna go and say that I think more about just philosophy and thought itself, and just a lot of random facts and other things like that.
Do you think about how some people are exploited and some people aren't exploited and how unfair that is?
Yes, definitely.
Okay. We've narrowed down the field. I'm already feeling pretty confident. I'm questioning between the I and the E. Eccentric M, I want you to chime in on this at this point. What are your thoughts from Mr. Haberdatcher?
I'm not sure because I've been dancing in and out of multiple chats, which is why I said be right back earlier. But
that's fine.
So yeah, I can't. I don't have an opinion at the moment. I'm sorry.
Nope. No sorry. There's no sorries in talking with famous people. It's all like, yeah, I don't got anything to say right now because I was doing something more interesting. Right on. Fuck yeah. Way to find something more interesting. That's a good thing. Okay. So anybody else want to comment on Mr. Haberdatcher based on what we've heard so far, or have any questions?
Yeah. Maybe INFP.
How easily to get your feelings hurt, Mr. Haberdatcher?
When I use feelings, I easily get hurt. Though I usually cover up or mask my own. kind of put on a shield.
Ding, 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 ding. We have a winner. INFP.
Oh,
We got a rush of you guys lately. I've had a few. I had none forever, and then now I've had a few in a row. That's straight up INFP. The difficulty in answering the question about how you spend the time in your head, that is because you are looking to your feelings to answer that question. Well, what do I feel most of the time? And the answer is, well, you are using your NE and your TE to give you some sort of structure that attempts to explain your feelings, which kind of aren't ultimately explainable. Like, you won't ever be able to make your feelings all consistent with each other for logical reasons. But as a society, we expect people to justify their feelings through that mechanism, and it's wrong to do so. And when we as NTs encounter individuals who are Fs like yourself and who are voicing an opinion based on feelings, we've got two problems. One, they're coming at us using thinking language. And two, we're expecting them to justify it with thinking language. And what we need to do instead is explain you are expressing thoughts through a totally valid paradigm, but we're talking on different paradigms. There's no reason to just try to justify it intellectually in the way that you're doing. You don't have to do that. You just, because it's not going to justify that way. And I think that giving INFPs and ENFPs the legitimacy to hold positions that are not determined by logic, and to maintain the legitimacy of those positions when they are logically disproven or whatever, is critical. It's like, it's very hard for Fs in this world because we're constantly telling them to justify their feelings with logic.
so I use my feelings to answer logical, what should be a logical, using my logical statement rather than my feelings, but I still use my feelings instead. Was that it?
Well, I think it explains why you're hesitant to commit to a given position. You kind of know that if you commit to a position, then you can be called to account and say, but here's this other position you said, and there's a contradiction here, and then you're going to be in a bit of a conundrum because you're not sure how you're going to reconcile that. You're not sure what you're going to do with that. And so what you end up doing is getting lost in a spiral of maybes. And you end up saying, well, I think this, but maybe I think, it depends on the content. Well, it really depends, and it's really hard to say, because why? Well, your main tool function is any. That's a possibilities tool. And so you're feeling all the different possible ways in which your feelings could manifest in these various situations. I would guess you have kind of a uncertain notion of how you'll believe or what you'll think or how your opinions and stuff will change over time. So I would say, like, do you think you'll have the same political, social, life understanding opinions in 5 years? What would you say?
You just laid down a lot of information, man. But I guess I would mainly the reason why I'm so iffy on a lot of subjects is mainly because I either have not put thought into it, or I'm indifferent, or on some occasions I believe like opinions change, people evolve, and other concepts like that.
Right.
I don't really like my opinion.
Right. Well, but you know how you said you're indifferent about it. But so to you, if there's two positions, one is correct, the other is incorrect, does that in and of itself make you care about it? Like, do you care about the correctness incorrectness thing, regardless of what the arguments are that fill in the variables?
Well, yes, like if like I was to choose a pass or fail, I'd worry about that a lot more than, say, a test that would have A, B, C, D, or F.
How much of life do you think correlates with the pass fail, and how much of life do you think correlates with the letter grades?
How much do I think passes with what?
I said, how much of life do you think correlates with the letter grade model that you can do badly, sort of badly, medium, blah, 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 and how much of life do you think correlates with the binary win-loss model? You either pass this class or fail this class. There's nothing in between.
I think aside from the idea of life and death, everything else, it can be interpreted different ways.
Okay, so Mr. Haberdatcher just made a vote for utilitarianism, sliding scale understanding of reality. And he additionally explained that he couldn't really predict how he's going to feel in 5 years because he understands his feelings as being contextually dependent. It would depend on too many variables. The prediction would be meaninglessly inaccurate, like predicting the weather 5 years from now. It makes no sense at all. Well, that's because you're FINE. You start with your feelings, which are sort of liberated from time frame. In other words, you could still feel bad about something that happened a long time ago, or you could not feel anything about something that happened 5 minutes ago. And so there's that aspect of it. The second aspect is you are able to then see all the possible possibilities about your feelings-driven relationship with reality. That makes it very hesitant to commit to things, because you can't really predict if it's going to be a good idea for you or not.
Yeah, that sounds like myself. I don't do things that will really affect my mood if it'll end up making myself hurt.
Well, before I ask for any further comments, let me just say, Mr. Haberdatcher, that I hope you find this a safe place to hang out, and I hope you find that it is warm and receptive to all types, including the INFP. The ENTP and INFP, you are my you're my benefactor type. And I think ENFP is my supervisor type, and INFP is my benefactor type, which means I'm supposed to get stuff from you. Like, you're supposed to give me benefits of some sort. So, to the extent that INFPs and ENFPs are around, since ENFPs are supposed to give me direction of some sort, there's my supervisor, and INFPs are supposed to give me benefits. They're my benefactor. I want to have you guys around so I can. I'm in the take half of that relationship. So, I mean, it makes perfect sense for me to want you guys around to figure out what it is I'm supposed to take from you. Well, I'm supposed to take something from INFPs right now because I'm getting a flood of them. And I like this kind of magical thinking framework where the universe is set up with these slabs of reality that are directing forces in certain directions. And it's directing me right now to learn stuff from INFPs and ENFPs. I've got my staff ENFP basically here, Eccentric Gab, who I talked to on several occasions, and I pick I sit and I just let NI do a little bit of stuff with that, I guess, or something. I'm not sure. I just let it bounce around. Same thing with INFPs. I had Carlos here last night. Carlos frustrated me. He's an INFP who continues to make some very poor decisions, I think. And I'm trying to discourage him from making those kind of poor decisions. If you're going to go somewhere, okay, fine, do the cocaine. Or, okay, fine, do the meth. Or, okay, fine, do the acid. Don't do all three.
I have not touched a drug in my life except for that incident I told you about, like with the weed, twice in my life.
Well, you know what that INFP did also? He took 9 bars of Xanax and crashed his car. Which, as I said in the video, is kind of like saying he jumped out the window and, shockingly, fell to the ground. It's like, what the fuck else do you think is going to happen when you take 9 bars of Xanax and you drive your car? That's poor decision making. It makes me worry about INFPs. I know that they have a little bit of a history of volatility. But that's neither here nor there. I'm confident in that typing of you, Mr. Haberdatcher. You feel like an INFP to me. You could, in theory, be an ISFP, which means that but see, I think you're more abstract than an ISFP would be. ISFPs are really all about like, why am I here talking to these people about boring shit? I should be out getting a massage. That would feel really good. That's ISFP. So that's what makes me think you're INFP. Eccentric M, you want to validate my decision, or do you want to invalidate it as my supervisor?
I'll validate for now.
Reluctantly this time.
What?
All right. Thank you, Eccentric M, and thank you, Mr. Haberdatcher, for the gift of this video. And thank you, viewers, for watching Talking with Famous People.